Can say, yeah.
Okay. So I'm not able to move my slides.
Maybe you should, yeah, it's moving.
It's moving, yes. Okay.
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
So let me start. Okay, so this is the report. Very frequently we come across patients who routinely come to us with ultrasound reports where we see they have any grade of fatty liver. Otherwise, they say we don't have any problem. We just got the ultrasound done and this is the what we got. Now, so how to go ahead? Now, we should know about what are the causes of fatty liver. So one very important cause of fatty liver is the chronic alcohol abuse, which is the alcoholic fatty liver disease. And it's important to take a history of alcohol abuse, which the patients many times may not be very forthcoming. The other possibility is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, where you have patients, individual with obesity, particularly abdominal obesity, and there were other metabolic abnormalities like insulin resistance, dyslipidemia, diabetes, etc. would be there. Some other situations like patients who are starving or who are on chronic parenteral therapy, or even in some patients post-bariatric surgery when there is a very rapid weight loss may develop fatty liver. Several drugs which the patients are commonly they may be having anti-epileptics, some antibiotics, antiretroviral therapy, etc. may also lead to fatty liver disease. And of course, chronic liver disorders, chronic infiltrative liver disorders, and chronic hepatitis C, and pregnancy. So fatty liver can be caused by several of these situations, and one needs to rule them out very carefully in the detailed evaluation. So why should you worry if just a fatty liver is detected? The reason is that this apparent benign situation may, over a period of time, if left unattended, may develop into a chronic disease, maybe chronic liver disease, cirrhosis, and hepatocellular cancer. And as highlighted by the earlier speaker, they may be at increased risk of developing metabolic abnormalities, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. And among those who have cardiovascular disease, this may be associated with more severe form of cardiovascular disease, and also increased overall cardiovascular and liver disease related mortality. So that is the reason why it is important to thoroughly evaluate these patients, as there are some stages of this disease which may be reversible. And what is more important is the fibrosis, which is the most important prognostic factor. Now, this is the spectrum of fatty liver disease. Most of my discussion will be with respect to the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now, this has already been shown by the first speaker, so I will not go into the details. Now, coming on to evaluation. So your patient comes to you with a report of fatty liver, you evaluate, you look for the history of alcohol, you rule out secondary causes and evaluate for coexisting metabolic abnormalities. And then you stage the liver disease, because staging is a very important aspect, because some of the like steatohepatitis and steatosis, this is the stage, these are the stages where things can be reversed if the treatment is performed. But if there is a significant fibrosis and cirrhosis, then this cannot be reversed. And subsequently, the management will depend upon the management of coexisting abnormalities as well as the management of liver disease. Now, in the common evaluation, the common laboratory functions that we have, these are the usually commonly performed. The liver functions, ferritin, autoantibody levels, look for dysglycemia, look for dyslipidemia. Now, the non-invasive and invasive. So now we have several non-invasive modalities which are having a very good sensitivity and specificity to the invasive modality, which is the liver biopsy, which is still the gold standard. So the radiological modalities are, they can detect steatosis and fibrosis, whereas there are biomarkers which can detect steatosis, and there are some biomarkers which can detect the cell death. Now, what is important is that liver biopsy is still the gold standard to detect steatohepatitis, NASH, because NASH cannot be detected very well by most of the other modalities. Now, ultrasound is very commonly used for grading the fatty liver, which is it's divided into three main stages or grades: grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. But this is a semi-quantitative measure, and this does not really give you how much is exactly the involvement, because ultrasound can detect fatty liver only if more than 1/3 of the liver has steatosis. Below that, it cannot detect. So that is why it is this modality is semi-quantitative. Now, the modality which is used very frequently and is useful is the ultrasound transient elastography, which is called FibroScan. Now, what it measures is it measures the two basic parameters. First one is the controlled attenuation parameter. Now, this, or the CAP. CAP is basically, it determines the extent of steatosis which is present. And this can pick up even mild steatosis very accurately. And now, this is basically based on the ultrasound beam attenuation. The other measure is the liver stiffness measure, LSM, which is done using low frequency shear wave elastography. And this quantifies the degree of fibrosis. So these two measures have a very good sensitivity and specificity with respect to liver biopsy. They are reproducible, and they can be used to determine as well as monitor or follow up the patients. Very frequent follow-up is possible. Now, LSM, it may range from 1.5 to 75 kilopascals. The higher the value indicates that the more the stiffness of the liver. So this is what the output we get. Now, there are several cutoff values which have been provided in different populations for CAP and the LSM parameters. Now, this is a recent publication which is from our institute, and this here in this publication, about 219 patients who were diagnosed to have NAFLD on biopsy were included, which is divided into non-obese and obese individuals. And the cutoffs we see here to determine the staging of steatosis S1, S2, S3, they are different, slightly different for non-obese and the obese individuals. And the fibrosis cutoff points were not very significantly different among the two groups. So these are the values which are which were suggested may be useful for different stages of fibrosis as per the Beta-Vir fibrosis score. Now, what I would like to highlight here is that if we compare these to the other the values which have been given for the European and the other populations, these values appear to be quite less, and because in that population, anybody who has possibly the values less than 300 may be considered to be normal. But out here, the values in non-obese are somewhere around more than 275. So ethnic differences may occur with respect to these values. So probably it may be appropriate to use our own population values. Now, elastography has several merits and demerits. It's easy to measure, painless, objective, can be done multiple times, and it assesses steatosis and fibrosis. Cost, well, if a center has the machine, it's not a very costly It is one-time expenditure, but subsequently it is the cost is quite less. The demerits is that it may be difficult, technically it is difficult, or technically not possible in patients who are severely obese or morbidly obese. There it may be difficult to perform this measure, or in individuals who have ascites, have narrow intercostal spaces, or other situations like congestive heart failure or extrahepatic cholestasis. So in these situations, it may not be possible to perform this investigation. So several other modalities also have been evaluated for detect the steatosis and fibrosis. Non-contrast CT scan, dual energy CT scan, MR spectroscopy. So MR spectroscopy at one is considered to be the gold standard to determine the degree of steatosis. And the newer modality, that is MRI-derived proton density fat fraction, is also being evaluated to detect the extent of steatosis, and MR elastography. Now, this is one modality which is used to estimate the liver fibrosis, and this is considered to be the gold standard next to biopsy to grade the fibrosis. However, all of these modalities may not be easily available in routine practice. So these are usually used in the for research studies only. Now, several scores also have been given to estimate the risk of fibrosis. That is the NFLD fibrosis score, NFS, and fibrosis 4, FIB4 index. So this uses several parameters, and both of them use several parameters, and the cutoffs have been given. So online calculators are available for both of these, and these have shown fairly good sensitivity and specificity as related to biopsy. So if there is a high risk, so if they are any individual falls in this category with a high risk, high scores, then it would be necessary to go ahead with the liver biopsy in these individuals. So coming to liver biopsy, it is the gold standard for detection, as other modalities cannot diagnose steatohepatitis or NASH accurately. And individuals who are at increased risk of having NASH or other fibrosis, that is presence of metabolic syndrome. So in individuals who have metabolic syndrome are more likely to have more severe form of liver disease. High scores, as I mentioned earlier, high liver stiffness measured by FibroScan or MR elastography. So here one would like to know if the patient has already gone into a cirrhosis stage or not, or if there are other coexisting chronic liver diseases, such as infiltrative disease, chronic hepatitis C, or autoimmune disorders. And all of these cannot be detected accurately without doing a liver biopsy. So their liver biopsy becomes necessary. Several biomarkers also have been researched and have been found to indicate various stages of fatty liver disease. So this here shows the markers which have been found to be useful for steatosis. And these are the markers which have been found to be useful for the detection of fibrosis. That, I mean, the combination of these is also the enhanced liver fibrosis test, or the ELF test, which has been recommended by several organizations. These are the markers which are for cell death, specifically cytokeratin 18 and fibrosis mediating surface antigen. And some of them are inflammatory markers which may be non-specific. So although there are several biomarkers available, but many of these biomarkers cannot be accurately, very accurately determined. However, some of these, a combination of these have been recommended by various organizations. So coming to the algorithm for evaluation of fatty liver, first of all, you exclude the secondary causes of steatosis and significant alcohol consumption. Look for coexisting abnormalities, obesity, metabolic syndrome, diabetes, other risk factors, and imaging evidence of fat accumulation. That is the ultrasound. That is the first modality which is easily available everywhere. Or There are serum liver function abnormalities which are seen. So a diagnosis of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is made after all these are excluded. Now, once you make a diagnosis, then you need to know what is the stage of the disease, whether the patient has a benign steatosis or NASH or fibrosis. Because fibrosis is the most important prognostic factor, so one would like to rule out presence of advanced fibrosis. So the scores may be useful. So if the scores are high, then one may go ahead with the imaging modalities. And if there is the scores are high, there is presence of metabolic syndrome, then the one may consider going ahead with the liver biopsy and appropriate management subsequently. Now, along with it, so recommendations of non-invasive evaluation and follow-up. So these are the European, the NICE guidelines, Asia Pacific, Italian and American. So all of these, as we see, there are several differences. In the European, the use of NFS and FIB4 has been recommended, and whereas NICE recommends the ELF blood test. And in Asia Pacific, this combination of serum tests and imaging tools, but nothing specific has been highlighted about which of the tests may be useful. In the Italian, there is NFS and FIB4 again. Same thing with the American guidelines. And their inclusion of transient elastography or MRE has been recommended upon diagnosis. And subsequently, there are differences about what has to be done during the period of follow-up. So as we see that there is still no consensus regarding how one should, what are the initial investigations and how one should proceed. So coming to the management part, very briefly, I'll not be going into this detail. So no, there's no specific pharmacological agent which has been approved for management. Therapeutic lifestyle interventions are the cornerstone. Weight loss, that's most important. 5 to 7% of weight loss will improve steatosis. More than 10% will improve NASH and fibrosis if it is not advanced fibrosis. Now, what is more important is that these individuals have coexisting metabolic abnormalities. And if we talk in the context of diabetics, uncontrolled diabetes is a very important, patients with diabetes have increased prevalence or increased risk of developing fatty liver disease or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, particularly NASH and fibrosis. So in there, what is more important is to control the existing metabolic abnormalities, that is hypertension, dyslipidemia, and dysglycemia. So these are very important to control the coexisting abnormalities. And along with it, newer anti-diabetics. Some newer anti-diabetics may be useful in improving non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, particularly in patients with diabetes and also in patients without diabetes. So that I think the next speaker would probably deal with that. So I would end my presentation. So summarizing here, that fatty liver disease is the most common form of chronic liver disease. However, one has to rule out the secondary causes initially, investigate for coexisting abnormalities, and determine the stage of fatty liver disease. This is most important because this has management and prognostic implications. Liver biopsy is the gold standard for diagnosis of NASH, but it's not always feasible, and therefore non-invasive modalities such as FibroScan or the transient elastography and the use of fibrosis scores or biomarkers may be helpful to not only detect as well as the follow-up in the stage of fibrosis in these patients. Now, management, as I mentioned, therapeutic lifestyle management forms the cornerstone of treatment. With that, I would end my presentation. Thank you very much for the kind attention.